Hi everyone. Well, I think it's weekend number 4 of lockdown in the UK. Another video about what I'm going to be doing in the shack this weekend. It's actually probably more about what I need to do in the garden this weekend because I've had a couple of mishaps during the week, and I'm trying to video through the glass on my patio door because it's raining and it's not very warm. So this is my homebrew Colinia for 2 meters FT8, and as you can see, it's kind of leaning against a tree. I did have it supported on top of that tripod, which is from a super antenna kit, but I looked out the window 2 or 3 afternoons ago and the whole thing had collapsed, and luckily didn't quite make it over the fence into next doors, but missed it. But the tripod actually fell over, which is really what saved the day. So I kind of straightened out the stainless steel tube that supports the fishing pole and that gets the height, and put it back up again. My neighbours are really good. They've not even commented other than, "Oh, what do you do with all those things in your garden?" I don't think any of them would have seen this thing collapse. Anyway, yesterday morning, I got up, looked out the window, and it had fallen over again, but because it had been so high, it basically crashed through the G5RV and was basically resting on the G5RV. Now, because the G5RV is supported also by these very flexible fishing poles, basically everything kind of like bent inwards, and my G5RV conductor was about a metre above the ground. So in some respects, having a kind of, what some would consider a temporary arrangement for my G5RV is probably what saved it, because the actual antenna itself is pretty robust. But the fact that, although that fishing pole and the Colinia doesn't weigh very much, the fact that it had the weight of that on it, and all it really did was basically flex the fishing poles. But I can't really allow this to sort of continue. So this weekend, I'm going to somehow try and figure out a way of supporting my Colinia a bit more robustly. So I've got to actually go into work today for an hour or so to do some stuff. So we have loads of sort of old tubes and pipes lying around. So I'll see if I can find something and set something up that's, well, it's not going to be permanent, but a bit more robust than what I've already got, because I can't really afford for that antenna to keep falling over. So, but despite that, I've been doing FT8 all week again. I always use the Yaesu FT991 for FT8, but I also use that radio for SSB. So when I'm doing the Harwell Amateur Radio Society net, there's 2 nets actually now. We have one on a Friday night, but we also have one now on a Wednesday. So this is the radio I use for that sometimes. The ICOM IC756 I only ever use for SSB. And so this weekend I'm going to carry on doing FT8. But at the moment I'm working 40 meters, because the reason for that is because I forgot to waterproof the connections to my the coaxial connections to my 2 meter antenna to my Colinia. In fact, I can actually show you. You can see I'm using a coax barrel. You can probably see it. There's 3 cables down there before they reach the pots, and you can see the barrel that hasn't been waterproof with self-amalgamating tape. So that's another job I've got to do this weekend once everything's completely dried out. Yeah, in fact, I've got some of that in here. I guess most of you guys probably know what that is, but there you go. It's basically that kind of stuff. So, but you take a bit off that and wind it round a fitting, and it kind of like glues itself down into a watertight seal. So that's actually, I've been running FT8 now for about half an hour, and I've already made 2 or 3 QSOs. That's how my signal has been getting out in the last, this is set to 3 hours, but I've actually only been going less than an hour. So I was decoded in North America 28 minutes ago. So if I just change this to an hour, that'll still be the same, I'm sure. And yeah, okay, north of Norway. Okay, so I've got a call. Okay, so I've got another call here. Foxtrot 5, uniform, Oscar uniform. It's calling me. So I'm going to carry on doing FT8 this weekend because you can do things like clean the house, work, etc. You'll notice that my work laptop is actually closed this morning. My other laptops are running. FT8 is even interesting actually, even if you don't actually transmit. FT8 is interesting just to monitor, particularly if you monitor it and look at the sort of geographical location of the signals that you're decoding, because it tells you, it gives you quite a lot of information about the conditions of the bands, and obviously with PSK Reporter you actually get a graphical sort of view of, if you're transmitting, of where, you know, I'm looking at that now thinking, well, the 40-meter band is sort of working quite well. I did 40 meters yesterday and it was really excellent. Okay, so I just made another QSO. I switched over to 20 meters and literally it took about 5 minutes for my signal to be decoded 2 or 3 times, so I knew straight away that the 20-meter band was basically dead, and it was. I tried it for half an hour and it was rubbish. So, and FT8 is quite good for that. You know, I look at the band conditions online, and I'm not saying that I don't believe them, but you know, I've seen band conditions where they're reported as poor, and actually they've been really good. FT8 gives you kind of like a real-time indication of what the bands are doing. So if you can set your rig up to at least even receive FT8, it's quite useful. So anyway, I'm doing that. I'll be doing that this weekend. The other thing that I'm going to be doing this weekend is I'm going to be monitoring HF on the ELAD, which is set up on this laptop here. This is the ELAD kind of shielded USB power cable. And last night I did the Harwell Amateur Radio Society SCED. I monitor it on 160 meters on top band because I don't have an antenna that will match there, and then participate on 80 meters. But there was a huge sort of thunderstorms over northern France and moving sort of across the English Channel last night, and there was so much static crashing and banging that it was quite difficult to copy some of the weaker stations. So using the G5RV with the Yaesu, so what I actually did was I just plugged in one of my Wellbrook loops into the ICOM ICR75 here, and could hear the station, you know, these stations quite a bit better. The difference in receive performance between the a Wellbrook loop and the G5RV is nowhere near as big as the difference between the G5RV and my SEX80 vertical, wideband vertical. There's a massive difference. There was, you know, there were stations that I couldn't hear at all on that vertical that I could hear with the magnetic loop. When you compare my G5RV with a magnetic loop on this type of radio, you just often can hear the station more clearly with a stronger signal, and that kind of inspired me. I don't use the ICR75 very much, so this weekend I'm going to have a go with that. In terms of comparing the Bonito magnetic loop with the Megaloop FX with the Wellbrook loop, I've recorded quite a lot of videos for that now, and I'm going to stop there because you can overdo these things. I think the point that needs to be made is that what I find is that at lower frequencies, the Wellbrook loop seems to offer a bigger signal, but with slightly better signal to noise, but also a higher noise floor. The Bonito Megaloop FX seems to offer nearly always a lower noise floor, but often slightly lower signal strength, and at lower frequencies slightly worse signal to noise, but at higher frequencies often better signal to noise. So when you compare the performance of those two antennas, it is completely frequency dependent, and that's something that I've been sort of doing in the evenings this week, and I think this weekend what I'm going to do is upload some more videos for you guys on that. I think for now I've done enough testing. But to be honest with you, during this lockdown period, I could quite happily sit here. I've got so many videos in backlog. I could quite happily sit here and just literally write descriptions for videos and upload them, or just keep them there ready. I could spend a whole day doing that and I wouldn't come to the end of my list. I've still got videos that I've uploaded but not published from before I went to Australia. So that just goes to show how sort of far behind the curve I am. I'm just going to refresh the map on PSK Reporter. So that's what I'm going to be doing. What I did do actually yesterday was I finally put up my new European locator map from the RSGB, and I also put up my new radio amateurs map of the world from the RSGB. I had both of these maps previously. This particular map at my old QTH just kept falling off the wall, and every time it fell off the wall it damaged itself a little bit more, so in the end I managed to get hold of a new one. So I put those up yesterday, but I also put up a new world map at Collins. These sell for about £4. They're really good value for money, but they're pretty large, so I put those up to brighten the place up a bit. And then other than that, I'm going to be doing FT8 this weekend, in the background, hopefully sorting out my my collinear antenna sort of support so it can't fall over again, and then I'm monitoring sort of HF. I'm going to use my ICR75 and publish some more videos on the comparison of the Wellbrook ALA 1530 against the Bonito Megaloop FX. So that will keep me busy for a while. I did have a bit of a tidy up. I tidied up the cables that come into the shack. Someone wanted a video close-up of that, so there you go. There's two window jumpers. One of those is for the G5 RV and the other is for one of the Wellbrook loops. These are really useful, and you can get them on Amazon and you can get them on eBay. A few people have asked about them actually, and they are useful. Otherwise, my cable sort of layout scheme, as you can see, is pretty horrendous, but who cares? So that's about it really. I wish you all a good weekend, and I'm just gonna have a cup of tea, and that everybody keeps safe. It's an horrendous situation that continues. So many thousands of people dead in this country, and I think all over the world now, more than 2 million people have got COVID-19. It is literally horrendous, but I find it more bearable. There's no question for me in my mind that having the hobby that we have is so much more bearable during lockdown, because I'll be honest with you, I spend way more time in here than I do in the living room watching TV, which is ironic really, as I went to all the bother of feeding one of the Wellbrook loops into the living room so I could actually sort of sit there and listen to the radio, and be lazy without having to come into the shack. But as it happens, I spend way more time. I spent all evening in here, because I love radio. That's what I do. So that's it from me. Wish you all a good weekend, good DX, keep safe, and let's keep our fingers crossed that this horrendous situation ends sooner rather than later. Okay, all right, well, 73s everybody, and thanks for watching.